Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Kill of the Week. I am one of your hosts for the evening. My name is Brandon. I'm just going to kind of shotgun around the room, going kind of. If anyone remember playing Snake on their old like Nokia phones, that's kind of how I'm going to do this. Kind of go up, down,
Nokia.
Nokia.
I was going to let it slide.
No, I don't let that.
Whatever. I don't even pronounce that correctly. I think it's gnocchi is the actual pronunciation of that pasta. No, anybody?
That's even gonna help you.
I know.
I thought we were talking about phones. I'm confused.
Well, all right. Yes. Play Snake on a Nokia phone, not a Nokia phone. Whatever.
Did you get the pasta right?
I did get the pasta right. Little potato Johns. Okay. So above me is Josh. To his left, or camera left, is Jill. And then we got Chris. And then below him and next to our... I'm going to do that again. Above me is Josh. Yeah. Next to Josh is Jill. Next to Jill is Chris. Below Chris is one of our guests for tonight. We have Harry. And then next to Harry is Jen. So say hi, guys.
Hey.
This isn't a hostage situation. I feel like everyone's like in my basement and I'm making them do shit.
Did you not just watch yourself do that intro? Like...
I am so tired. So
you're exhausted, but damn.
Well, anyway, today is a very special episode because we have two very special guests on with us. We have Jen and Harry of Harry and Jen. Is it Do Horror with Friends, right?
Yep.
Cool. I wanted to make sure that I knew that verbatim without having to read it because I just love the fact that it's Do Horror.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The unspeakable act of horror.
It's a thing you do.
Yeah. Behind closed doors, preferably. So why don't you guys kind of introduce yourselves and tell us about the podcast and where we can like hear it at, where we can listen to it.
Yeah, cool. So hi everybody, I'm Harry. I'm an English teacher. I am also like a artist, singer-songwriter, and let's see. Jen, you go next.
That's the shortest introduction I've ever heard you do.
That was really good. Yeah.
So I'm Jen Lightfoot. I'm a tattoo artist and I am on the podcast with Harry. And so, okay, you guys are talking about the title. To talk about what our podcast is, just slightly, it is called Harry and Jen Do Horror with Friends. The original title we brainstormed was Harry and Jen Ruin Someone's Night, and we were going to have mainly people who did not like horror, but it's really fucking hard to get people who don't like horror to watch a horror movie. So that ended quickly.
Yeah, we ended up finding that just like lo and behold, like all of our friends like scary movies, and so it was much easier to just emphasize that we're all buddies and we like scary stuff. No, but the idea is that we pick for our main episodes, we pick current-ish horror films last couple of years, and we analyze them, we critique them, and then we just have kind of like a conversation about the movie in terms of our lives. And usually we try to get a buddy who knows a little something about like the subject of the movie. So I'll give you an example. Like we did the Terrifier franchise. Have y'all seen Terrifier? Any of the Terrifier films?
I've seen the first two.
Yeah, they're really, really gross, right? Really disgusting film, gory affairs. And so we got our buddy Jill, whose job is to harvest organs from dead people to come talk to us about it. So like we felt like she might have like an interesting relationship with guts, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Blend the worlds.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's the pod.
Yeah.
See, that was my goal we have a sister show to this, which is our Friday night watch-alongs, where we watch a movie and kind of like MST3K over it.
Nice.
When we first like started doing it, my goal was to ruin someone's day. And I've used this film numerous times to ruin people's days. That the first film that I chose for us to watch was Live Freaky, Die Freaky.
Oh, I know Live Freaky, Die Freaky.
Finally, someone knows what it is.
Your goal was achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chris's daughter being in the room didn't.
Yeah. And how old is Molly?
Okay, well, okay, I'm all right. I'm gonna lay this down here, so we're not gonna get like Child Protective Services involved here. But okay, she's 9 years old. I told her we have a podcast going on. We're gonna watch a very like grown-up movie, and I asked, "Is it okay to maybe show this movie to my 9-year-old daughter?" And well, within the first 5 minutes, Charlie Manson gets rammed in the ass, or is ramming somebody in the ass. At that point, my daughter just kind of like got up. It's like, this is not. And she walked out of the room and went to the other room, did arts and crafts for the next.
I'd like to clarify, who did you ask if it was an appropriate movie? Did you ask Brandon? Because then that's what you get.
And they didn't give me a straight answer for a very good reason.
Yeah.
Wait, is this the movie that's like puppets? Basically,
Yeah.
in stop
It's-
motion?
it's-
Yes, I know exactly that movie.
Yeah. I brought this. Another friend of ours has a podcast. I'm blanking on the name of it. I'm so sorry, Connor, but I was on his podcast twice, and where you pitch a movie.
Wow,
and
you're an
then-
asshole. You were on it twice and you don't.
I was on it twice, and the No Highway podcast. That's what it's
Wow.
called.
I want you to make sure
no-
you leave that part in that you forgot it.
I will. Connor, he knows I love him. He asked me to be on there, and I pitched Live Freaky, Die Freaky, and they watched it, and the entire episode was them bad mouthing me in the movie because it completely destroyed their evening, and I mission accomplished.
Dude, if
Oh.
that movie destroyed their evening, I've seen movies that will buckle your bones.
Well, let me paraphrase it this way, or let me phrase it this way rather. I pitched it to them to be like, do you like stop motion animation? Do you like punk rock? Because it's
okay.
Billy Joe from Green Day voicing Charles Manson. So when you
Yeah.
pitch it that way, it seems more entertaining and interesting,
It's
not
gonna be
what we
like
got.
acceptable, basically.
The
Terrible.
most vague way possible, almost.
Yeah. So for everybody listening at home, be sure to look up Live Freaky, Die Freaky and Dirks Productions. The Watch Along and No Highway podcast will pop up for that. And I am not sorry. But anyway, moving on to the reason why you lovely folks are here to not talk about stop motion anal ramming of Charles Manson. Jen has picked a movie. So why don't you tell us what movie it is, why you picked it, and why did you pick that kill specifically?
Okay. So I picked Dario Argento's Tenebrae, and the scene that I picked from it is the scene where the lesbian couple, I think it's Tilda and Marion, are killed. And I consider the kill to start when Tilda enters the home. So before the kills have actually started, because I think that the argument is important, and the slow, continuous shot outside the building is also, I think, leading up to the kill. For me, I really like artsy kills. Like the more artistic it can be, but also I feel like these kills are artistic but gory at the same time, which I think is not a thing that is often done successfully. I think quite a few kills in this movie are pretty artistically done, but this is the one that always sticks out to me. I know, like, one of the kills is the cover of the movie too, but yeah, it's probably my favorite Argento kill in all of his movies.
Really? That's
The good one.
that's impressive for
Well,
that to
there is
be.
only one other one that rivals it,
Huh?
and that would be the end of Phenomena.
Okay, yeah.
So I like the batshit Argento kills, I should say.
Yeah. That's fair. I do agree this is a very artsy kill.
So they were a couple? I thought they were just roommates.
They're a couple. So they're
Oh.
having an argument beforehand because Marion, I think, sleeps with a man.
She brought
Yeah.
him home.
Okay.
So why don't you tell us, Jen, like the first time that you saw this film, and if you remember.
I actually don't remember. I was on an Argento kick probably when I was either right out of college, and my mom and I were like watching them. So like I was living in Philly, she was in Jersey, and like we would like get them, like the Netflix DVDs that would come in the mail. So it was like one of those, that era. And we just watched a bunch and then would talk about them on the phone. But I don't remember when this happened, like in the series of watching Argento films. It definitely was not the first Argento film I watched, but yeah, I was old enough. I wasn't a child. So
Okay, fair. Well, how about you, Harry? Why don't you talk about your first time seeing this film, seeing The Kill, and your reactions?
Oh, happily. My first time seeing this movie was just yesterday, actually. I had not. So the only Argento film I'd ever seen was Suspiria, and I love that movie. I think Dario Argento is just such a striking director, especially with his use of color. I think that's what Jen was talking about, but like those reds, man, and in this movie, so much is about red, right? The red high heels, the red. It's just so many things are just popping with red in this. There's even a scene where like I think the detective is just like in a plaza, and the magazine he's holding is this like brilliant red, and so these things just like really pop out at you. But if I'm remembering this scene correctly, and Jen, I'm surprised that the color was the thing that you like wanted to point out about this.
no, it wasn't the color.
Oh, what was it?
The composition.
The composition.
I think the composition of the
I'm sorry.
artist, like the slicing through the shirt, like it's like the hole, like she's bleeding and cut, but then you see her hand flung upon the banister. Like you know what's happened, but you're only given small glimpses in like really unusual shots.
Gotcha. Because I was kind of sure that the reason you picked it, this is the kill with all the boobs, right?
Oh, well, I guess that's
this the kill with the boobs.
Yeah, I like boobs. So
yeah, I mean, who doesn't? Everybody likes boobs. So yeah, Josh,
I love that. That's why you thought I picked it.
Yes, the composition, the circumference, the cup, all the C's.
Diameter.
Those are the important C's.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I thought it was really just spectacularly done, and the whole movie in general is just a really interesting. What was it, 1982? So it's like an interesting moment in horror as well. And I know it's an international film, and I'm kind of viewing it as an American. And so like when I'm thinking from my American lens in the 80s, I'm thinking about, slashers and such, which really, like I feel like it ties in beautifully that way too. But yeah, I don't know, that's kind of that was where I was coming at with this one.
Nice. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, no, I totally, I am very not well versed in this genre. I need to watch more Italian movies, especially giallo movies. But it seemed to me like watching this, like the way it was composed, it just seemed like the giallo genre, from how I understood it, was a very 70s thing, a lot of like bright lights, that type of thing. And this was kind of like, it was like this was a genre that was on its way out, and this was kind of like a film, like one harkening back to like, this is like a great end cap to this genre of films.
Yeah, because I think this was, if I remember correctly, reading it, this was kind of Argento going back to giallo.
Yeah.
Kind of like he had like a hiatus for a minute, and this was like his return back to it. So like that was kind of cool to see what he did in the 80s from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You got anything else, Chris, or you?
Maybe in a moment. I'm kind of like looking back over, like I'm looking over like the Wikipedia for the movie, because like I just watched it yesterday. incredible movie. There were so many amazing kills in this movie, and this one in particular does have like a lot of depth to it, and it's interesting that we're going with this one, especially since like the later kills were arguably more intense, especially with like when the axe is introduced. But this one definitely has like that good kind of like character driven like motivation behind it, which is really cool.
Hell yeah. How about you, Jill?
I mean, I liked it. I watched it earlier today. I've never really watched anything in this genre, so this is new for me. To me, it really, I'm just looking at my notes that I wrote down while I was watching it. It really felt like Friday the 13th meets Misery for a lot of it, where you're only seeing bits and pieces from the killer's perspective. And I loved the kill of being able to see it through the bed sheet, and it's something I've never seen before. It definitely had a lot of Misery feel of like, I'm your biggest fan and I'm going to kill everyone and shove the book pages in their mouth. And I loved it. It also very much felt like Black Dahlia influence to me, of these women just like sprawled out and just these gorgeous women covered in blood and all these different angles. And I've never seen movies like that before. The dubbing was hilarious at times. The English dubbing version was ridiculous because they feel like they dubbed the screams too, and that seemed unnecessary.
So all of his movies are dubbed like that.
Yeah.
There's not an American version. They're all that way.
Even the
Okay.
American actors get dubbed for some reason.
Yes. Yeah, it's wild.
It took
so
me a
good.
minute to get used to it, and then I was like, okay, this is normal. But at first, you're like, that is really weird, and then
Like-
Yeah, it is weird. It's like Italian cinema, like they tend to like, for some weird reason, they dub the entire, like they don't do synchronized sound. At least that was like the tradition. And they do the ADR the entire thing. And by like the 70s and 80s, there's some like examples where they use that to like weird effect, where like this person's speaking in American English the entire time, right? And you can tell like he's speaking American English, and then one shot he's speaking in Italian, but the sound is American English, and it's him in American English. I think there's a scene in and toward the end of the movie where the dude, the writer's the main character's agent, he's speaking in English, and he's been speaking English the entire time. There's this one shot where he's speaking. It's clear that his speech is not syncing up with his mouth.
Oh yeah, and like for anyone who is a horror fan, that was John Saxton. So everyone would know John Saxton from Nightmare on Elm Street specifically. So you know the cadence of his voice, and when that changes, it's a big deal. Like that was also a huge thing. Like the biggest example of that, like not only Suspiria, but I recommend everybody watch Baba's Demons, because they had everybody dubbed. You had one guy an Italian pimp in that movie that speaks like the wildest English that you've ever heard, a voice that you would not expect coming out of his mouth. And then the American actors still being dubbed, and some of them speaking Italian at points. You get a really good example of that in Demons, if anyone's ever seen that movie.
And I think it's in the same band that does the soundtrack that
Goblin.
Argento is Goblin.
Yeah, so it was members of Goblin, because at this point Goblin wasn't a band at that point. So I think it was like 3 guys from Goblin came in to do the soundtrack.
Okay.
Thinking of the sounds though, every time they had the flashback and they had like the weird childlike music is very fucking unsettling.
Yes.
Like, okay, group orgy on the beach. Let's have a child like nursery rhyme sound in the background. That's fitting.
Those were my favorite parts of the movie.
I love that those are your favorite parts.
They really were. They were so surreal and odd. And like, honestly, if those parts had not been in it, I feel like I would not have enjoyed the movie really very much. It really kind of added something for me.
I think when the beach scene came on, I was like, Jen, what the hell did you pick for us to watch? With this like nursery rhyme like group scene.
It's so funny because I rewatched it today because I always knew the scene I wanted to pick, and I was like, wow, this movie is weirder and more fucked up than I remember. So.
I feel like what's really cool about those scenes is that it actually kind of grounds it grounds the viewer in like a sense of like, okay, this movie's weird to follow and all sorts of crazy shit's going on, but here's a scene that is clearly is open to interpretation as something that needs to be thought about. Like it's a dream sequence, so it keeps you in that level of like, maybe I should like think about what I'm watching and like think about who done it, which was something I was asking the whole time.
Well, like, they kind of explained that the dream sequences though towards the end.
Or was it a flashback?
It was I think it was like a more of a flashback because they kind of like explained what it was. It was the homicide detective was talking about like a previous case, and that case was kind of the similarities of what was happening, like kind of like a repeated thing of what was going on. So they kind of like summed up like what those scenes were in some way, and that was it's just Argento being Argento. It's like, I need beautiful women on beach, kick man in groin. Like, it's just how that works.
Yeah.
Stick a stiletto in his mouth.
Yeah. As long as it wasn't his daughter again, then we're okay.
Leave a nipple out for the next shot.
Oh, dude, the Italians love the nipples. Every giallo film.
Jen, with your kill, like, of course I walk down the stairs. I must take my top off when I walk down the stairs for an argument. Like, you just have to.
I know. She had a towel, but she was like,
she had the towel. It was like perfectly to still be seductive and like appealing. And then she's like, I have to just, you don't know what's underneath. Like, oh my God. Oh,
Good job, Italians.
Yeah. Seriously, watch giallo films. There's nips everywhere.
I feel like that's an Italian thing in general, though. Like, I heard it from good authority that like Italian television is just all tits.
Yeah.
I didn't
Probably.
have cable for a minute, and the shows you see on YouTube from international, Italian, they had a whole genre of just what is the object here? This is just a strip show. Nobody, there is no game, there is no dice, no. Okay, this is Italy. Okay,
But it holds your attention.
that's what they want.
Fun fact: nobody else in the world even has nipples.
No, just Italians.
I bet you didn't know that.
I
Oh,
didn't. You learn something new every day. I try to tell you.
Italians invented nipples in 1604.
1604. The first nip pop.
Yeah,
That's why it's called Nippoli.
Medici, the 18th, in the city of Venice. He exported them, introduced to the city of Venice by an Arabic trader.
You thought too hard about this.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's gas is my joke. So.
Josh, how about you? Your first
great.
reaction to the kill?
My first reaction, honestly, was that, as Jen stated earlier, that one shot. Like, I love that no cut shit. Just that continuous scene. I'm like, all right, this is cool. This is nice. And then that, like, hole, like he stabbed through the hole perfectly to kill her. I was like, that's artful and skillful to kill that way. So I was like, I like that. It's perfect picture. And then the next scene was, oh, a boob. Didn't expect that. That's always a plus. And then when he pretty much got her at the end and then her hand flowed through the glass, that's a pretty great shot. And I just felt like now I was a detective. Like, that's how all those detective shows are. It's like, so this is the scene. I'm like, that's perfectly how he laid it out. I thought so. So it was, now I need to watch this full movie because I didn't have the time. I need to watch that full movie now.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think for me,
really
I like Jen. I watched it a long time ago. I went on an Argento binge. Like, I think after I saw Suspiria and learned about giallo films, I was like, give me more. I need more Italian horror. There was just something about it. Something about Italian horror that is both taboo and gorgeous at the same time, to where like they pay attention to a lot of little things and they all focus on like certain themes. There's always like a theme, whether it was intentional or not intentional, there's always something. Like, for example, in this movie, like glass shattering was like a huge thing in this film. Like, they must have broken like 30 windows and like every time a window broke, someone died. It was just like that whole repetitive nature. Like towards the end of the film, spoiler alert, when the axe comes through and cuts off that girl's arm, it goes through the glass window. And as much as I love the sheet rip or the shirt rip, and you get that perfect vignette through of her face, something about the glass was just, I don't know, it just felt more purposeful. It felt more like angry, like with the murder, versus like, oh, I'm just gonna like rip through you. This is like ballet in the sense of like the shirt rip and everything like that. But no, now fuck you. You're going through glass after I stab you with this straight blade. Like there was so much intent behind it. I remember like, I don't remember the first time seeing it, but rewatching it, I rewatched it today. It was like a nice, like just like a nice treat to get to watch a giallo film, and just like things that you just didn't pick up on back then, of like, oh, now that I'm a little more well-rounded in filmmaking, a little bit more well-rounded in movies in general, you pick up on a lot of those things. And I feel like the kill of the couple was probably not my favorite kill of the film, but I understand why you would want to talk about it, because there's so much going on in this scene. Everything from the couple arguing at the bar ahead of time, and like just I don't know, it's a weird culture that you get turned on by two dudes playing arcade. Like it's an interesting thing. Fucking Frogger did it for her, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, graphics were more primitive 40 years ago.
Fair.
But dudes were still hot.
True. And that little like weird Predator style handshake they did in between the fucking arcade machines solidified. Yeah.
Like we both went at the same time.
Yeah. You son of a bitch.
Yeah. It was a bro bump right there.
But yeah, no, it's great. This was a great revisit. Couple like housekeeping things that I want to like list off, which I thought was like really cool, especially like tying the giallo worlds together, is that you had on for your special effects makeup guy was Giovanni Corridori. I'm probably like completely butchering that. He did special effects for Fulci, where he worked on Zombie. If anyone's ever seen Zombie, it's another masterpiece of Italian horror. And then he also worked on The Italian Job, Opera, and Blade in the Dark for Argento. So this has kind of been Argento's like go-to guy for effects, and which is great because the dude is a master of his craft. And then this film is based off of like a true story, not 100% true, but based off events of a true story, that Argento wrote this film after he was being stalked by a fan.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's where you get the Stephen Kinginess of it all, Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Great inspiration.
Mhm.
That I was on it when I was like this very misery feeling.
See, for me, my brain goes to anyone ever seen the movie My Name is Bruce?
Oh, for the love of God, Brandon.
Why does that sound?
No one would watch this crap. Like, why do you say this?
It's a Bruce Campbell movie,
Yeah.
and it's basically like Bruce
I saw it.
It's Bruce Campbell's like Three Amigos, where like this kid unleashes a demon, and he's a fan of Bruce Campbell. So Bruce Campbell's playing a parody of himself, and he kidnaps Bruce Campbell and takes him to the small town. But there's a scene where Bruce wakes up in the trunk, and the kid is talking to him, and he's talking to him about movies. And Bruce's line is like, "Oh shit, it finally happened!" And he's like kidnapped and bound in a trunk.
It's on my Tubi movie list. I'm like, I know I've known this movie.
It's so much fun. I recommend it.
I love Bruce Campbell. I mean, what's not to love there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole stalked by a fan thing. Anytime anyone talks about it, like, yeah, you think of misery, but my brain goes to that line, like, oh shit, it finally happened. A couple other things as well. For the actor who played Marion, I think that was her name, right? This was actually her first film ever. This is her first time
Wow.
being on screen and being in a film, which I think is like really sick that, you know, you go all out in your first movie. Argento wrote and directed this. What else was it? There's one last thing which I thought was like really, really cool. So the 2.5 minute crane shot for that scene, it took 3 days to be completed for them to do it. American distributors wanted the shot to be cut from the film for the US release, but Argento fought them. And he completely refused to cut his movie for that. So like mad respect for that, because that shot is, oh god, it's so good.
That shot is so
Why?
important.
I'm curious as to why he wanted to preserve that shot, because
I mean, dude, it took him 3 days to nail it, and it's a very impressive for the 80s to pull off a oneer like that.
Like
That's
just off
true.
of principle alone, it took me 3 days. No, I'm not cutting this.
Yeah.
And-
That's 3 days worth of 35 mil that's burning to do that. Like that's budget burning for that shot particularly.
It's also like, I feel like it's Argento at his best, because it's like, I wrote in my notes, one thing that's really interesting about that scene is we go to the window where Tilda is, and then suddenly we're outside the window and like we're in the killer's perspective, which is such a giallo thing to do, is to be in the killer's perspective. So I felt like, and like, yeah, also I'm not surprised that American like film, whatever, would be like, cut that. Because like, a side note, I know, can I mention another movie while we
Absolutely.
I guess in Rob Zombie's Devil's Rejects, I think it is, there's the cop on the ground and there's that very long scene where the camera pulls away and
Yep.
the shot.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
Is it House of a Thousand Corpses? Okay. Yep. They wanted to cut that because it's not it's not zippy. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, this is dragging out. This is like 5 extra minutes that we don't need. And I think American films are like the ones that always want to cut the artistic more.
Well, yeah, a lot of them don't get it. That shot was, as Jill said, it's her favorite shot. It is the best shot of the whole movie. Only because we're gonna sidebar to House of Thousand Corpses for a second, which I'm very happy to do.
We haven't talked about that yet.
The thing is about that shot is that it's the only shot that doesn't look like a Rob Zombie music video. And it, because like you watch House of a Thousand Corpses, that's all that it is. It's just one giant Dracula music video. So that shot was like the predecessor for Devil's Rejects, and it's so important to have that. The anticipation, waiting for that trigger to be pulled. That's what Italian cinema does, or basically anything that's foreign. They lure you in, and Americans, they don't want that. Bigger, faster,
like
harder.
In recent days, we have a lot more like slow burn films. So do you think we're getting away from like, we're bringing back that idea of like, just let it happen, and they realize that the quick cuts like is over? Because like slow burn is kind of having, maybe now it's coming to an end, but it had a moment.
I also think it's generational. I think we think about movies of the 90s. Like they weren't exactly crazy zippy too much. Like you had a lot of like films like Reality Bites. So you had a lot of more real life kind of things and more conversational based stories, like movies like Clerks. It's just two dudes in a fucking convenience store, but you're hooked.
Right, and but to play devil's advocate though, like there is a like from like a film grammar standpoint, that like there is a lot of space of time where there is no action taking place, where it's just like the panning of the shot. And even though it does, like that scene does an excellent job, like really like putting you in the place of the killer. Like it gives you a perspective from the killer that you couldn't get any other way, which is why it's like a fucking brilliant shot. But it does, from a business standpoint, like it's like this is a 2 minutes where absolutely nothing is happening, essentially.
Fair.
And yeah,
I
Fair, but I
also
don't think-
I agree with it, but that is literally like that's what it is. You know
no,
what I mean?
you're absolutely right, Jen. Make your point. I want to hear what you have to say.
I was just going to say that I don't think movies should be just business. I think that they should be considered art. And like, I get that the business side of things is always trying to like, you know,
Be efficient.
be efficient, but yeah, but that's to me boring.
Yeah, but
Well, also, I think
it was a good Harry.
Yeah. Also, I think there's a difference in like your audience, right? I think that like movies that are kind of like art house films, I think they've maintained more of a tolerance for kind of like slow burn, different pacing, compared to stuff that's going to be like real, big national releases. I think maybe another question that's worth asking is like, do you feel like the general populace has veered for like in a direction that like is less tolerant of those slower burns, or do you think that it's always just been kind of like a niche thing that some people have been into but not others?
I think it was a niche thing that wiggled its way into mainstream, and I think A24 is to blame.
A24 is to blame for the resurgence of the slow burn? You mean?
Yes, absolutely. It's not a problem. I personally like slow burns. I think if the story is done well, then a slow burn isn't really as slow as people like to claim that it is. But I think in terms of Tenebrae and Argento fighting for that 2-minute shot, I do personally think it is needed because it keeps with the pace of the film.
Yeah,
I think with the way the film is you needed that shot to stick with the pacing to move it. And I also feel like if it wasn't already, I feel like if it was any other director, then they wouldn't have succeeded in fighting to win that thing. I feel like Argento, by the time of, what is this, 81 that this came out? 82. Argento was already like solidified in both Italian and American films. And because you have to think, he's the reason why we had Romero's Dawn of the Dead. If it wasn't for Argento, we wouldn't have had Dawn of the Dead. And that of how big of a massive hit that was, he kind of already, he laid his groundwork. And I think that also has a lot to do with it, but that's also, that's situational, those types of conversations, those arguments and things like that. Like creative integrity versus the business plan.
Fine lines. I do like that the slow burns are coming back. I do, not to sound like the old millennial I feel, I blame all the short form videos for a lack of attention span to why people want it quicker. Don't give me the slow burn. I want to know what happens now. And it affects us in a way where we were so used to the slow burn growing up that the way that it's getting introduced now, we can sort of already guess the ending. Even though I like how some movies still, you thought you got it, now we get you. But those have been few as of recent, in my opinion. But I do like the comeback of the slow burn for sure.
I personally blame Christopher Nolan for the death of the slow burn. That guy made movies with shots that wouldn't exceed 5 seconds. And
Christopher Nolan or Michael Bay?
I was about to say, can we also throw the MCU into the mix?
Yeah.
Yes, superhero movies for sure.
For you to take in like a frame, for like if he wanted to have a shot that he really wanted to show you, like he would keep that up there long enough for you to really digest it. Not so long that it wasn't profitable, mind you.
Oh yeah. Well, he's the only guy that got away with at the time putting the first ever like 4K camera on a fucking zip line and threw it between two buildings. So
Sure did. But I don't know. I just now I'm going to go off on a tangent about fucking Christopher Nolan and how like I watched like all of his Batman films. It's like, come on, just give me a shot for more than a lot of it isn't even so much the takes as much as it's the soundtrack just kind of like blends through like it's a comic book, which kind of makes sense because he's trying to make it like a comic book movie. Blah blah blah. I don't know.
but you
I
see, okay, we can take that, and this is
Right.
the beauty of being able to twist it back around to Argento and Giallo. The
Right.
fact that they spend that time to put these things in the frames. They make sure to not have cuts to where you move, the camera as in you, the viewer, moves with the actions and moves with them. And then when they really want to emphasize it, what is the fucking frame? The frame is extremely close up. Like right before the shirt rips, you're like right there. And then it rips and you see it. And like they do that very, very well to where it's like you're in it with them. Versus like, oh my God, ADD, the movie. This is fucking great. This is just like Ritalin, the film. It's awesome.
ADD the movie gets 5 stars.
Yeah. Take it to Letterbox. Let's do this.
Jen, can
It's
I toss a
Yeah.
question out there? Are you or
Yeah, no, ask me.
is that
I don't
coach?
have anything super important.
What do you think? And everybody too. I'm wondering what you all think of this movie's treatment of women specifically. It strikes me. Oh God damn it! My lights went out. Hang on.
Well, it's got those '80s ladies. I'll give you
It's got those 80s lights. Yeah.
Yeah.
It strikes me as like a very like male gazy movie, but also I don't know, like it feels like that some of that stuff is kind of worked into the story too. Like I'm thinking about that scene where the woman is kind of giving that dude a hard time about his books being kind of sexist, and I wonder where do you land on that as a feminist, as a yeah.
That's a great question. And I feel like with most Argento movies, I try not to think about it too much as I watch them. But it is one of the few Argento movies where the killers are men. Usually, a lot of the times they are women. So, makes you question his view on women in general, if a lot of them are villains. Although I'm not opposed to a female villain in a horror movie. We need more of them. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure actually what to make of it. Because obviously the scene that I talk about or that I picked is, a lot of tits are out. It's two very attractive women in a lesbian relationship, which also feels like the male gaze or male fantasy. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, because I think a lot of Argento, and I think just a lot of just European films in general, I don't think they were necessarily 100% the male gaze. I'm not going to say that they weren't at all. I think that plays a part into it, absolutely. But I also think the way that they view women and beauty is different than Americans. That I don't think it is to make them more of an object. I think it is presented in a way, and like especially in any Argento film, there is any of the women that are in it, they're always lit very well. They're always they are stunning. They're no matter like any woman that you see on there, you can tell they took the time to make them shimmer and they're glamorous on the screen. So I think in that sense it is capturing the beauty of that within the film itself, because they spend a lot of time stylizing their films. And I think that they're just, it is going to sound terrible to say, like they're just another added object into it, but it is all blended together into the way that they compose a shot. Because I think what I think what they do, and I think a lot of foreign directors do this more than American directors, is that they frame shots as they are composing a painting. Like look at the scene for this kill specifically when she's at the top of the stairs and you have the girl at the bottom of the stairs. It is framed and portioned out so well that you can see every angle and every cut of the room itself. You see like how the doorway lines up with the stairwell going up, and then you see not Tilda but Marion at the top, perfectly centered, that she's just off a little bit. It's not fully exposed breast, but it's just like the sheer tease of it. Everything I think is done purposely to elevate the beauty of not only the frame and the scene, but the humans inside of it. So I don't think it was a lot about that, but I also think that scene that Harry's talking about was probably a real conversation Argento has had. And I think it was probably him reflecting upon it, because let's not forget Argento has done some questionable scenes with his own daughter Asia later in his film career, but I also just feel like it is a cultural difference
And his
versus
uh,
anything else.
girlfriend, wife, ex-wife, I don't know exactly, Daria Argento, in a lot of his movies and in Tenebrae
Yeah.
too. And I feel like not this one, but other ones, she had a role in like some of the writing or producing as well. So like, I don't know. You can tell when she's part of it. It
Yeah.
feels like the women characters are more well-rounded when she has a little bit of a hand in it. And I don't know if Tenebrae was one of those, because I think it, like you said, it was kind of like that interview was probably like something he battled with or thought about, like I'm sure he was asked that question.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with this being in the 80s and after like the stream of hits that he's had. But I mean, you look at Suspiria, it's a very female driven film in every aspect of it. So I guess I feel like it's just him facing a lot of those things and addressing those conversations on the screen, especially if this is based off of him being stalked and him dealing with his fans, not dealing with, but interacting with his fans and interacting with people outside of it.
I think to that end, he kind of, I feel like, especially from this scene, like he's trying to present women in an objectifying way. I think that's his point, and that by becoming objects of desire or for anything for the viewer, like an object for the viewer, it is opening those characters up to being defeated and killed. And I think that's he was kind of like, it seems to me that was kind of like the point of this, was that he was trying to show how this idea of like putting women in a place where they are not men, where they are something that are used by men and are like looked at by men to be something that is an object of men, they are in a position for being killed and being like destroyed, like having their ego completely destroyed. And yeah.
Now I have a question to attach to that. For a different kill of this film, when there's a scene where John Saxon is stabbed in the street, and all you see are the heels. You don't see who did it or whatever. Now, this could just be me being confused just from the way the scene was cut. Like, is that meant to be Peter cross-dressed, or was that something completely different? Because those red heels, were a significant thing throughout the entire film. So like, because there's a scene when the POV camera is walking up towards him, there's a scene like Saxon looking at it, and then he kind of like, right before he gets stabbed, there's like the realization of who it is. So are we meant to believe that he was in drag that went up and stabbed him?
I feel as though that the red heels represented the objectification of women, and that the threat of him being like somebody being stomped out by the heels kind of like represented being.
No, he wasn't stomped out. He was like stabbed in the stomach. The agent, when he was
Oh.
like in public,
Yeah.
when he was like killed in public.
Right.
So, because spoiler alert, Peter's the killer. The writer of the stuff is the serial killer. So, sorry, Josh.
Like the very first victim went from using her sexuality to try to get away with shoplifting to then being like catcalled and having to defend herself. So like she, yes, she was wrong for shoplifting, but she did nothing wrong to then have to be catcalled and have to defend herself before she died.
Yeah.
So you kind of use back and forth. She's like a very strong female, being able to use her body as she wanted to and when it was convenient in that way. And then 5 seconds later, it kind of being taken advantage of without her consent, and then having to defend herself from creepy guy. And that's the first victim that we see in the movie, and it kind of sets the tone of how women are, being handled throughout the rest of it.
Who the victims are, people trying to assert themselves.
I mean, they were all living their lives. Like no one was doing something to them. I mean, they weren't having sex on the beach while a child was drowning and, Friday the 13th. Like they were just living their lives, doing their shit,
Yeah, asserting themselves, threatening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's threatening when you walk down the stairs topless, you just have to all the time. So
It's hard. Yeah.
It's hard not to do that.
Yeah.
Going back to your question about the red shoes and is it Peter or not, it's like the one scene in the movie that I'm like, I don't think it's necessary to show us the shot of the red shoes. Like it confuses things. He's not a cross-dresser or like whatever. And I feel like that would be problematic in many ways. And especially since like we don't see him doing that at all ever, and it's not like a character in his books that does that. So like I'm like, was something cut from the film that we never saw? Like, I don't know. I just
hold on. I think I found something. Apparently for this, it says one of the major twists of the film is that there are 2 serial killers, not one. However, several film critics have noted key differences between the crimes of the 2 killers. Bearty typically kills with the razor and has little to no connection to his victims. He kills with a clinical detachment, and there is a lingering sexualized aggressiveness in his actions. Neil typically kills with an axe. He personally knows most of his victims, and in some cases had romantic or professional relationships with them, and he has deeply personally motivations for the crimes of passion. So,
but there's 2, but I think by the time the detective or whatever the agent is killed, I think that the first one is already dead.
Okay.
Like he's the one who's shot in that, or not shot, killed with the axe in the house with the big blood.
Yes, you're right. It was the mustache guy.
Yeah. So he's already dead. So.
Okay. So then it would be him. So then maybe the red heels were a red herring in a way to throw you off. And he just sees, oh, here's my buddy, Neil coming up to say hi to me. Why does he have a knife? Stabbed in broad daylight.
I think there's a lot in the fact that we're put in the perspective of the killer so much in this movie. And so you really kind of have to like see that like we're kind of seeing things in a sense in the way that he sees them. And I think like he feels justified in the killing of these people, in particular these women, because of that, that prior experience that gets hinted at, like at the very end of the movie, right, where his girlfriend or whatever, we're seeing these intermittent flashes in this. So I kind of interpreted it as being like, he has this kind of like he sees himself as like the victim in all of that situation, and she's kind of the aggressor in this kind of perverse way. And so, you know, when he walks around perceiving himself, you know, as you know, a woman in red heels, he's perceiving himself like as the aggressor. That's some way of him acknowledging that he's being aggressive. I don't know, but yeah, it's very murky and messy, and that started. The more I talk about this, the more I start to feel like I'm just making shit up. So I don't know.
That's fair. That is fair. According to the John Saxton wiki of deaths of him, he is killed by the author. So I don't think he was in any bit of drag. I think it was just he walked up to him, stabby stab, and then walked away.
Stabby stab.
Stabby stab.
Stab.
I don't know how else to describe it.
Oh no, it's the perfect description. This is exactly what it is.
Mhm.
With that bright red blood.
I love the red blood in
I
this
think I have
film.
to binge these movies now.
Oh yeah, you should.
Mhm.
That's a solid weekend.
I do have time. My car's in the shop. All right.
But yeah, the coloring in this film. Now, it was also, there wasn't a lot of his dramatic changes that he normally has, where he really emphasized emotion through just harsh bearing lights. I think to what Harry said earlier, his uses of red is still there, but this is a fairly muted film for an Argento film. And it was very different from a lot of what he was doing, because even like, yeah, you get a lot of kills in this film, and more than not, a lot of them really aren't that brutal. If you really think about it, like the kill we're talking about today, those two, like they're not brutally killed, but they're killed in a very romanticized way. It's very poetic, but it's so, I guess for lack of a better term, it's muted versus like the red blood, because there's a lot of blues in this scene specifically, and the whites and everything, the way that they kind of meld together. But then once that blood comes in and that red pops, it just, oh, it's so awesome with that contrast.
Yeah, when you were talking about Argento's use of color, I feel like it's quote unquote more normal colors.
Yeah.
You would say with like the bright red, as opposed to like Inferno, or you know, where it's like very vibrant colors. Yeah. The kills are a little weirder, but the actual setting is more normal looking in
Yeah.
Tenebrae.
It's tame.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it was like, it kind of reminded me of like toward the end of the genre, because it also reminded me of films made toward the end of the like film noir genre of like the 40s and 50s. Like the very last film noirs made had very basic like lighting and like mise en scène and like direction, like photography direction, but they were still like super solid. Like from a story standpoint, they were really solid like film noirs. And I feel like this is kind of like the same type of thing for like giallo films.
All right, guys. So we have discussed that at length Argento. We have discussed at length The Kill, the film, giallo as a whole, Italian, the invention of the nipple. So what we're going to do is we're going to go kind of around the room. We're going to get our last and final thoughts on The Kill itself and how we feel after our discussion. Doing back the Nokia Snake Way run, starting with Josh. What do you think of, like, what are your final thoughts on Argento's Tenebrae?
My final thoughts are I need to binge this man's movies because I've been missing clearly a lot of gems based off horror, suspense, kills, and boobs. I mean, a man can't ask for much more, can he?
Hell yeah. Chill.
I loved it. It's the first time I watched a movie like that. I'm sorry. I definitely want to watch more. I enjoyed it. It was a very creative kill. I'm dying. Don't mind me. I'm sorry.
Chris.
Was a really interesting exploration into the psyche of somebody who is threatened by femininity and a loss of masculinity, and he by he I mean Argento, like portrayed this exquisitely well, as a murderer who is trying to solve his problems.
Oh yeah. How about you, Harry?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that this movie was fantastic. I kind of can't believe how few of these movies I've actually seen and how long it's taken me to get around to more Dario Argento. And no, the kill is it's iconic, isn't it? It's got so much style and so much character to it. It's impossible to not love it.
Fantastic. I think for me, anything Argento is always a nice treat. I will treat him like espresso, and we'll have him at the end of a very nice meal. So this is a great kill. I think everything about this film is just entertaining and fun, and really like amplifies a good mystery mixed with horror, like good giallo does. So like golf claps all around for this film. And to final it off, Jen, your pick, you send us off.
To start, I hadn't seen this movie in a while. It held up. I think that Brandon, you had said it earlier that the kill was like poetic, and I was like, that's a great way to put it. It's like if you had a horror movie where the kill was poetry. Like I would say, yeah, to people out there, even if you don't like horror, watch it for the style and artistry of it, just because it's really interestingly shot and composed. Yeah.
Oh yeah, poetry painted in blood. And with that, I'm going to thank everybody for joining us. I'm going to thank Jen and Harry for being guests on this episode and talking Argento with us. And with that, we will catch you guys with a new episode in about 2 weeks. They're bi-weekly. So thank you all again.